Okay, we'll tell you about my daughter was married about 10 years, and she couldn't conceive. And she went to many doctors in Washington, where she was living at that time, and nothing. And I had her send me her medical records to see if I could speak to somebody here in Israel to see if they could assist her. And I spoke to a couple doctors, and they said, well, she has to come here. And I was at the diaspora yeshiva at that time, and I spoke to the rabbi. And
which rabbi was that? Rabbi Goldstein?
Rabbi Goldstein, here, yeah. And Rabbi Goldstein suggested, or before that, he said, has she gone to a mikveh? And at that time, I didn't exactly know what a mikveh was. I heard of it, but I never knew what it was really. So he explained to me, and I said, well, I'll call her. And I called her, and I said, honey, I spoke to a rabbi here who's pretty famous, and he suggested that maybe you should go to a mikveh. She says, a mikveh? She says, forget it, I'm not going to a mikveh. So I didn't want to push her too much. And when I called her again, which at that time I used to call her at least once a week or twice a week, sometimes twice a week. Now I call her every day just to come back to Israel. I mean, to come to Israel. But at that time, I called her and I'd ask her again. She said, will you get off of my back? And I said, all right, look, it won't hurt. And this went on for a good while. And finally, when I called, she says, I'm going to go to the mikveh. I said, what convinced you? She says, I have my sister-in-law I'm going with, and I'm going with her. So I said, all right. So she says, now you can get off of my back. So, all right. I thank God in my mind. And time went on. And she became pregnant at that time. And I certainly thank God, as much as I knew how in those days, because it was such a mess. And her son just yesterday, her son's son was 3 years old, and he had a upsharing, and she sent it through television, through our computer, and we saw the upsharing yesterday. So I'm very, very lucky. And
this was this would be your great grandchild.
This is my great grandchild. Yeah, great. And
so 9 months later, after she went to the mikveh, she had a child.
Right, just about that time. Yeah. So I'm a believer. I've seen so many things happen in my day, and I'm way ahead of the game as it is now. So anyone that has any question about Hashem, let him come to me and I can tell him. Because if I'm here, you have to know that Hashem has had special rahmanas on me. And I'm here, and I'm way ahead of the game. And that's one of the stories. And we have a few more stories after this that we can tell you when you have time.